Hello. But what just happened? Suddenly, French President Emmanuel Macron wants to meet with Vladimir Putin. Lie. Let's remember that they had a phone call in July, but now he wants to get closer to the Russian president. What's behind all of this? Why is France, after the meeting where they couldn't use the frozen Russian assets, suddenly changed its tune? Let's talk about it. Oh, how times change, how things change. French President Emmanuel Macron has come out and said that, hey, it would be useful to be able to start resuming dialogue with Vladimir Putin. We've already talked about this here. Why is French President Emmanuel Macron looking for this? Obviously, he first said that today he saw that some officials are meeting with Macron with Putin, and that he would find it interesting to also meet with the Russian president. Within this whole scenario, it's important to mention that previously Macron directly attacked Viktor Orban, saying it was a scandal for him to meet with the US president and especially with the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, in the same week. He then said that he didn't think it was a good idea for Trump to meet with Vladimir Putin, implying that it was impossible to negotiate with him, that it made no sense to work with him. And now we're talking about a scenario in which Macron suddenly changes his approach or strategy and has said that he wants to negotiate with the Russian president. There are some pretty important things to mention here. The first and most relevant of all is that specifically the French president, Emmanuel Macron, is seeking a negotiation. He himself has said it. He is seeking a negotiation with the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, because the issue of security in Ukraine of this meeting depends on him. He wants to try to build bridges now to talk with Russia. Here, most experts believe that, as we always say, there are no coincidences in geopolitics. And what the French president is really trying to do is not be left behind if the conflict with Ukraine eventually comes to an end. And hey, you have to start talking, you have to start having conversations. And of course, in this context, most analysts believe that if overnight, let's say tomorrow, the conflict ends and the United States has a good relationship with Russia, this would put Donald Trump at a massive economic advantage against those who are supposed to be his allies, the Europeans. So Europe would be left with nothing. That's why all of a sudden, some people now want to start talking with Russia. Let's remember that this kind of stance from Macron comes after countries like, for example, the Czech Republic or Italy have decided to stop supporting Ukraine because right now there are peace negotiations. And well, what's also obvious is the issue of Mercosur, right? French President Emmanuel Macron has said that this is unacceptable. Yes, in fact, in true Zelensky style, he has asked for security guarantees, but regarding Mercosur, these have been his statements. Not only that, but he managed to postpone it until January. And of course, it was one of the steps that, let's say, the European Union had to negotiate in this meeting that lasted more than 14 hours. And yes, indeed, Macron ended up admitting that, well, he himself requested that the topic of Mercosur be postponed, while they focused on just one thing, giving money to Ukraine. In the end, as we were saying, right? In previous videos, 90 billion euros were given, or rather have been allocated for economic support to Ukraine, and that's money that isn't coming from frozen Russian assets, okay? It's gonna come out of people's pockets. But anyway, in this case, Macron has confirmed that yes, he was the one who blocked the issue of the United States agreement with Mercosur. He has postponed it until, as we've said, January, and that's when they'll talk, because he says he's looking for solid guarantees, reciprocity, controls, and income for farmers. Most people believe that actually, and this isn't anything new, France has always opposed the issue of labor and the agreement with Mercosur, but most believe that this is really being done thanks to pressure from the citizens themselves. And as we've mentioned, while they were meeting to discuss how to give money to the Ukrainians, outside on the streets, farmers were out protesting, even throwing potatoes. There were some pretty striking images. They even started burning different coffins with the word agriculture on them, making it clear that this was essentially killing off the agricultural sector within the European Union. For the same reason, by the way, the farmers themselves also took to the streets, also came out to protest and to say that they would not work under any circumstances with Ukraine. Ukraine's role in the agricultural sector is also extremely concerning for the European Union. Some believe that this sector was decisive, for example, in preventing even stronger ties from being formed regarding the European Union and Ukraine's entry into it. But anyway, in this case, the most relevant thing is that France has once again blocked Mercosur, arguing that it needs security guarantees in the style of Volodymyr Zelensky. And, well, finally, we have to talk about something rather curious. I don't know if you've seen it, but some time ago, and here we have the image, about a week ago, a video of Zelensky came out where he had some rather strange expressions. Some people said that he looked more scared than calm. In the video, Zelensky was in Kupiansk, taking photos and saying he was there, ready to fight, to support those who are fighting. He's not going to fight, right? To support those who are fighting to keep Ukrainian territory. And he said that what President Trump and especially Putin were saying, that they had lost the Kupiansk area, was false, that no one was surrounded. And well, Putin responded to him and said, hey, but why don't you come in? Why are you staying at the door? Why don't you go inside? That's what Putin ended up saying to what he considers a fake video of Zelensky near, not in, Kupiansk, but near Kupiansk. So on Friday, during this press conference held by the Russian president, they talked about the results of the year and also about this situation that has raised some doubts. And yes, instead of recording videos outside the city of Kupiansk, in this case liberated by the Russian army, as Vladimir Putin says, he should go in, and that's what the Russian president has stated during his traditional press conference. Why are you staying at the entrance? Go inside the house. If Kupiansk is under your control, why don't you go in? Why are you just staying at the entrance recording this video? So, well, in this way, the Russian president has mocked Zelensky and his video, which for some is an attempt at propaganda, obviously geopolitical propaganda, but for others, he was trying to send the message that everything is under control in Ukraine. Let's remember that Zelensky is using the argument that everything has been frozen. There hasn't been any advance by Ukrainian troops, but also, just to be clear, not by Russian troops either. So everything is supposedly under control, according to the Ukrainian side in this case. While most analysts believe that this video is more of a staged production by the Ukrainian administration, and that without much in the way of beneficial circumstances, they've ended up with a rather complicated image. The staging didn't turn out well, and in fact, some people on social media have been saying that Zelensky didn't exactly come across as a good actor because he didn't perform all that well, right? People didn't buy his role. But anyway, whatever the scenario, the truth is that from Russia's point of view, it's false that the Ukrainians have control of Kupiansk. And this is shown by Zelensky just taking a photo at the door, as Trump says, and not actually going into an area that is supposedly secured by them. That's how things stand.